For some reason, I
I
can't
just
go.
located my shoulder. It's on November 3rd, I'm taking the little dog out at 4 in the morning to go do her job.
Okay.
He came in
I
and I
can't
started
hold it across
doing
that.
that.
I can only.
You know, and I hadn't
download
been
it to the
taking ice
desktop.
at all.
So,
And the top
I
step
didn't have a
that I
problem
sewed,
before.
my feet did it.
All right, we're
Good thing I had the
ready to go.
Okay.
Elbow hit and this shoulder came out.
You can pass this around right now.
I went to ER.
We'll
last-
look at it when we get to it there, number 4.
Yeah.
And then I just had surgery a week and a half ago.
How's that going?
So. Last couple nights I was able to sleep actually, so I'm pretty encouraged. We're good to go?
Yep.
We're in order, pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. We're all here.
She has to call it, I think, so it has to be recorded.
Yep.
Mr. Christensen,
Present.
Mr. Walter,
Here, present.
Mr. Popa,
Here.
Mr. Barons,
Here.
all present.
And Mr. Bradley in attendance to help us out.
Special guest, Brad.
Public, approval of agenda. Anything you all?
Looks okay to me.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor of the agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Public comment, I see no public comment, so we'll move right on. Election of officers, item number 1, I suggest, I don't know, do we have anybody other than me?
I make a motion, we keep the officers the way they are.
I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
I told Heather Rawlings, our the fisheries gal from, go away.
Henninger?
This thing, I hit, I can't even turn it off.
What are they doing?
Is that a
This
phone?
one? What's which one? Okay.
I can't even get to her number there.
Okay.
You need Heather Henninger?
Yeah,
Uh-oh. Lost the connection.
good.
You put it on again.
Okay, I'm back.
Was she gonna phone in?
No, I'm supposed to call her, but I just hit update window that I didn't expect, and I hit
I
the
have a
wrong.
speakerphone in the other room.
This one?
Yeah,
Right here?
yeah.
This is
I've
coming
got
up.
5 bars.
This is coming up slowly.
What is it we're trying to do?
You want me to call her?
Go
Or
ahead.
Wait until,
Go ahead. Call her.
the reason he wants to call her is that the topic of weed management.
Weed management
is something
proposals.
We'd have to clear basically with the DNR.
With Heather?
Heather Henninger
Well-
is part of, she's part of what we're doing.
But let's talk about that. Does she have the final say? Because-
Not sure, but she would tell us who we needed to talk to if we did.
Well, both this company and the one that I don't have the paperwork from will take care of all the permitting.
So there are permits involved.
There are permits involved, or not, but they will know that determination and they will get the permits.
So why are we
well,
talking
because-
about this? Just to review proposals?
Just to review proposals, but to review the use of chemicals as opposed to manually cutting them. And I want you all to hear her input. This isn't coming up, so call her.
I doubt if you're gonna get a hold of her.
No, it's all scheduled.
Oh.
I sent her a link to both of these,
Hello?
Heather, it's Dave Behrens at Parks and Rec.
Hey Dave, how are you?
Real good, good. Steve Christensen is here, John Walters is here, John Popa, and Scott Bradley.
Excellent.
So it's the full park committee, we're all here.
Cool, very good.
Let me jump off on this right away. Lonnie Rodemaker from the Fishing Committee and I have investigated. We've contacted 5 different contractors who do weed control in ponds and lakes. We've had 2 respond, and through what Lonnie and I have done, we've really found that it's going to be, as far as we know, impossible to find mechanical cutting and raking or whatever removal of weeds. So we're down, we seem to be down to chemistry. I'd like the whole group here to hear your feelings about that and the input you gave me in the email about the use of chemistry.
Okay. So typically, and I'll kind of give a blanket statement here. So our policy in Fish Division is that we typically don't support the use of chemical treatments for weed control. The caveat to that is that in certain instances, when used appropriately, it is the only method for controlling certain invasive species, particularly Eurasian water milfoil, which we do appear to have in low levels in the pond. The problem with the pond is we've got a number of species that belong to that family. We've got Eurasian water milfoil, we've got northern milfoil, we've got coontail. So they're all very bushy, hardy aquatic plants, and they seem to be playing nice with each other in there as far as it's not dominated by the invasive. But those are still, as we all know, those are still aquatic plants that take up a lot of the water column, and they make it difficult for people to use the water itself. So, a couple of things to think about when we think about using chemical controls in a body of water. The one thing that we very strongly deny in those permit requests is the use of copper sulfate. Copper ions themselves are pretty toxic to fish, like really toxic to fish. What it becomes is when it's bound with that sulfate, it becomes a mucus irritant. And so in aquaculture, it's used to move fish around, if we're trying to harvest fish out of a pond, because it's highly irritant. It breaks down their mucus lining. They want to get away from it as fast as they can. Prolonged exposure to it will actually, has been proven to actually kill fish in the long run. The other thing with copper sulfate is it's a heavy metal, so it's going to settle in the bottom of the pond, and then you end up with issues down the road if we continue to use it with macroinvertebrates, and it stifles exoskeleton development on bugs and stuff like that. So copper sulfate is one that we really kind of have significant issues with.
Heather, if I can jump in there, both of the people that we contacted and got response from this, and I sent you the connections yesterday, Savin Lake Services and Northern Aquatic, all that paperwork for my whole committee here is still sitting on my printer at home. But Northern Aquatic Solutions, or whatever that other one was, I informed them that of just what you said, no copper ion use, no copper of any kind. Are there specific chemicals you have in mind that you would accept?
So the basic kind of chemical cocktail, if you will, is what they call 2,4-D, which is essentially Roundup. I mean, it's if you really break down the chemical composition on the product they use versus Roundup that you can buy in the store, it's pretty much the same thing. So what a typical lake would do is a treatment in the spring, and it would be dominated by that 2,4-D. A lot of times they'll use the copper sulfate in conjunction with either the first or second treatment. And I don't know, did they propose to you multiple treatments throughout the year?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
However, my discussion with them, and it's part of what we have to discuss here, is can we go one step at a time? Minimal number of treatments, minimal density, strength of whatever application there is. I don't have now a couple of the specific chemicals that the other paperwork had, but that's why I asked, do you have, besides the general 2,4-D class, they gave me brand names, I presume, but I just...
Yep.
Well...
Yeah, no, and that's kind of, all of those, so they have safety sheets for all of them, and I'm actually going to look real quick and see if they're on their webpage. They are, okay.
Well, it seemed to me from the discussions I've had with both parties, they're well aware of a lot of this. They have a range of chemistry we can choose, and generally the more effective for minimal application and safety for fish and people eating the fish, everything, it's just a matter that it's a little more expensive.
Yeah.
They both seem to be aware of this and offer it, and would work, and obviously obtain all permits required, so all of that.
And so we'll have to be kind of cognizant of the fact there's typically about a week where they've got a no, not quite a week, maybe it's 3 or 4 days, where there's typically a no contact order. So they typically, the companies are responsible for signing the water bodies so that folks know that that's what's going on. It looks like the one that they use the most is Aquafol K. I'm looking at Northern Michigan Aquatics right now.
Okay.
Again, that's a pretty common one. The primary binder is salt instead of the copper sulfate, which is a little bit more, it's a little bit more friendly. All of the stuff that they use in liquid form tends to be fairly biosolvable, so they all have kind of a residence time. It's usually just, like I said, it's usually less than a week where it starts to break down and disperse out and break down into its original compound. So,
do you have a preference? Do you have a preference or thoughts on a systemic versus a contact?
No, I mean, I'm looking at what they've got here.
Well, it seemed as if we may be able to, because I think we have a different level of measure of success. We aren't looking for the pristine, absolutely weed-free, blue-dyed pond, and that's what a lot of their customers want. So we're in a position where I think our big thing is Kids Fishing Day. That's where it's got to be the cleanest. We can accept some native weed growth, especially as the season goes on. And
typically what they try to do with a staggered program like that is they try to treat prior to, as it's starting to warm up, when these plants are just starting to kind of bud, if you will, they try to hit them before that occurs so that they can slow down growth. And then they typically try to hit them again later in the season before they drop their seeds or their turions, however it is they reproduce annually. They try to hit them again and stifle their ability to do that. So,
got it.
But thinking about that, Kids Fish Day, where are we this year? It is June 28th or 21st?
It's usually the last Sunday.
That's what I thought.
Okay, so the 28th. So if it's the 28th, we'll start fish on, say, the 25th. So, if we could get them in there in May, I would say as late as the first week of June. We want to make sure that all of those, everything that they've used has broken down before we go ahead and put fish in there.
Well,
you know,
all
the
of-
same thing. Oh, go ahead.
All of what you're saying fits in very nicely with the person-to-person conversation I've had with both of these companies.
Good.
So,
Okay.
so my final question is, do you support my general finding and what I am going to propose here, our decision to use chemistry?
Yes, I think it's worth a try. I mean, we have exhausted the manual labor attempts. I mean, gosh, for 15 years now. So yeah, I think it's worth looking something out. I'm glad that those are the two companies that have gotten back to you, because of the 5 or 6 that I see permits from on a regular basis, and I know of from conversations with lake associations and such. These seem to be the two that are the most willing to kind of work with you. You know, they're less fixated on, you know, at the end of the day, they're selling a service and they're selling a product, right? So they're trying to make money at it too. But these two companies seem to be the two, well, there's 3, but seem to be in that group of companies that I'm aware of that actually kind of give a darn, you know?
Good. Yeah, good.
So I'm glad that those are the 2 that got back to you. I think it's worth a shot. You know, I think if they're willing to work within our parameters and really help us achieve what we want to achieve, then I think it's worth trying.
Excellent. Frankly,
Yeah.
I think that's all the time we need of yours right now.
Okay.
We need to talk
Perfect.
here and,
Don't hang up.
okay, don't hang up.
John has a question.
Okay.
Hi Heather, I got 2 questions. Have you ever
Sure.
seen anyone that uses these blankets to cover these weeds and throw them around and then kill them and then pull them back off? And a person could
We-
save these blankets
Yeah.
year after year after year.
Yeah. We do see that. I have a couple of private individuals on Walloon Lake that get a permit from DEQ or Eagle to do that. And I'm trying to think. I think they started that 3 years ago. They have a 5-year permit, and we made plans to go out and inspect the site after 5 years, or they've been taking pictures and stuff as they go to kind of see if that's a viable method. I know I've talked to some of my counterparts that work down in our Plainwell office. They've got a number of larger lakes downstate in like Kalamazoo and Van Buren counties where that's being tried as well.
And
But I don't know how well it
Who
works
was
right
the
now.
lake and who was the vendor?
That I don't know. I would have to go back to those permit applications and look.
If you can find that permit and email Dave or something.
Yeah.
I know we're
Okay.
looking at it on our lake association too.
yep,
But,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. And it may not say, I will dig through and see if I can find that permit application. When they apply for the permit, they don't, you know, they have to identify a contractor, but they don't necessarily have to identify material providers. So it may be there, but it may not be, but I will look for it.
Good.
Okay, the second question. I'm free the 6th, the 7th, and 10th and 12th to see you.
Of this month?
Yes.
Let me grab my calendar. 6th and 7th, let's see, I'm out. 11th and, how about the 12th?
No, 10th and 12th.
Oh, 10th and 12th, let's do the 10th.
All right. You can send me an email what time, or you know right now.
Whatever time works for you. You want to come to the office here, or do you want me to come up there?
No, I want to come in and see you, and I'll bring our
Okay.
picture. I'll bring those pictures and stuff.
Okay, how about 10 a.m.?
10 a.m. is fine.
Perfect, I'll put it on my calendar.
Thanks.
No problem. All right, all set.
All set.
did that have to do with this?
No.
You got it. Any other questions for Heather right now?
Nope. All set.
I think I'm good. Heather, did the survey results, are those complete?
They are almost complete. I just got another survey back that I need to make the edits on ahead of it. And as soon as I get those done and pushed off, then I'm back to working on North Lake. I would say probably June.
Yeah, you normally come about the
To one of
time,
the summer.
about
Yeah,
the time
yep.
that we vote on, the, monies for planting the fish.
Yeah.
And if it were done at that time, that'd be nice. I'm just curious is all.
Okay, I'll see what I can do. I'll see if I can, get it bumped up, and I'll put the hammer down on it and get it wrapped up.
Perfect. And I'll say this for you and Dave, but Dave, I'll make sure that you talk to Pete and all those powers that be so we can get that, get Heather and the Fish Committee here in front of the Parks and Rec Commission at the appropriate
And
dates to vote.
I missed a call from Pete yesterday, so I know it's on his radar. I haven't called him back yet, but I'm sure that's what he was calling
We
for.
need to vote at an appropriate time and
Yeah.
early enough so that we can make sure that we're good to go for the fish planting.
And I've been talking with Pete and Lonnie
Okay.
steadily, so
All right,
we'll
good.
keep that
Put
up.
'em on a
Perfect.
Bible.
Anything else?
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Heather.
Oh, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for all you do there.
I'll stay in touch on
All right,
our
sounds
final
good.
decisions, who we're going with, and
Okay.
we'll just be in touch on all of this straight away.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
She's so busy, and you leave her phone messages, and she's either gone for 2 days and whatever. And so the messages I've left her,
Oh, same thing.
so,
And I was so surprised.
and I'm
that-
glad that she got on a phone, and I can't believe she had this time, so I have to ask her this question. I said,
That was
"Hey,
fine.
That was no problem.
I gotta
fine.
see ya here."
No, I go through the
We're
same
all
thing with
connected.
it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that had nothing to do, Laurel, with this thing, you don't, okay.
John,
Who's Heather?
Heather Hedinger is DNR fishery specialist who's been part of Fishing Day Committee.
She's a northern biologist, fish
Yeah,
specialist.
Before I came involved.
She's good.
She seems real knowledgeable.
She's amazing.
Oh,
And it's like,
amazing.
it's been like 15 years and she donates time.
Yeah.
One of the reasons she might be donating time is she's close enough that she can grab her kids and run them to the ponds and do some fishing.
Okay.
But donating time, these surveys, is this a third survey?
Of Lake Leelanau?
No, of the ponds at Veronica.
Oh.
Third that I've ever known of.
But anyway, she'll donate time to coordinate with Fish and Wildlife from the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa, and they combine forces. And the band has the boats and the nets there, and she's there, and it's nobody's paying for that per se. It's part of a collaboration that's happening because of Heather.
And like Steve said, you'll find her and her family on weekends going here and going there and whatever, and you'll find her in uniforms at meetings, and
Yeah.
she races around like you can't
when
believe.
I got hold of her by email, well, then I sent her a text and said, I sent you an email, read it. And it was to set up this morning. And when she said, yeah, I can do that on the 5th.
Well, she was in office, but
So,
That's good.
God, I'm glad I got an appointment with
Well,
her.
one thing, go ahead.
well, through Heather, through both Saban and this Northern Aquatics, God dang, I wish I hadn't left that stuff on the printer. I learned that mechanical harvesting just isn't gonna work. There's nobody who's gonna work on a pond that small. Now, I had just heard about these tarps.
Let's just take a second. That picture you showed, that was because you faced it or something? They've got these blankets and nets that are used, and we hit a button with her. She knows that it's been used, and we've got a nice small area where they
That's
can
what I'm
use.
thinking is, now, do we have time this year to think about that for this year?
I don't know, probably not, you gotta find workers. We don't have it in a budget, but what it does, you go out there early in the whatever,
Mhm.
and if we're gonna do it in Lake Leelanau, we need divers to go down in 20 feet of water. But on our pond,
On this pond?
you can take these blankets, reach out with sticks, Or you could put lead weights on them. Let's say you fasten it to the shore, and then you threw some weights and throw this blanket out. It lays to the bottom.
Mhm.
Little crayfish and bugs underneath the blanket can still crawl around, and eggs, and it doesn't kill any larvae. But then that plant, it's like throwing a net over your lawn, and pretty soon the sun can't get it, and pretty soon that plant is dead, and it doesn't come up, and then you pull it away.
Yeah, yeah.
And then if you
Well, I
roll it up and you want to leave some weeds here, because they got to have weeds, you just move over 30 feet, throw some other ones. Kids can fish here and leave the weeds there. You could have a bunch of this. We're going to buy miles of this if it works right for Lake Leelanau.
They've got the invasive.
We've got this milfoil, but it might cost us
Invasive
$100
milfoil,
grand.
invasive.
But as soon as I heard about it at our last meeting, I got thinking about the Veronica ponds.
Well, that's-
We could roll this up and use it every
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, and that's why I've been thinking, well, number one, I think for this year, for Kids' Day, we have to go with
Poisoning?
one chemical knockdown.
Sure, let's try it.
And really look towards, well, what else can we do once we get a hold on these things, get a grip on what's going on. So that this year's Fish Day is a whole lot better than what we saw last year, because the weeds were impossible. And then, I've been really enthused about learning about these tarps, blankets, whatever they call them, because of the pond size. It seems like we could get them
Well,
across.
Price, not Price. Who's the
Yeah.
Conservancy guy?
Yeah,
Brian.
Brian Price.
Yeah, Brian Price has a button on it.
Oh,
And we pay him and said, oh yeah, here's a vendor that we can use, and they could do out, and they might give us an estimate. What would you do to scatter this out next year? You say, yeah, I can come in here and do it in
Well-
one day or something. And then we put it in the budget.
I think, that has merit, I believe that has merit for 2021.
Yeah, that's what I said, let's put it in our budget for next year.
So we need to follow the research between now and next year at this time.
Let me keep it-
For the blanket thing.
Let me keep it as, you can put it in the minutes that John will add this to his investigative things. Unless you want them, you already got a picture of it.
I can look into it.
Well, I've been meaning to talk to Brian about this, and had hoped to get hold of him before today, but it's one of the things I haven't gotten to, because these
Well, bring it up when
tarps,
you talk to him. He found where we can buy this stuff by a roll, 40 feet wide and a mile long type of stuff, fairly inexpensive.
Here,
Huh?
80 cents a square foot, 145, 200 square feet for $145.
Where'd you get that number?
It was.
That was
Right.
but that's just one vendor, right?
Oh, yeah, I mean, if we get it and we need 500 feet of it for the pond, we should buy it off the lake
well,
association.
let me jump back to
Okay,
this and the missing piece.
that story.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
In the fish pond, is it other than this one? Or is it this one too?
No, all of what we're talking about
This one here?
are just two ponds, and not this one,
Not that?
just this one and this one.
That's where we plant.
And the base price from Savin Lake Services for those two ponds is $2,500. The base price from Northern Aquatics is $2,400. Now.
Good, they're close.
Yeah, both of them know all of what Heather was talking about. Spoke of differences in choice of chemistry between contact and systemic. And it sounds to me like a bit of a combination of the two might be a good one-time hit, see where we go and how things progress through this season. Meaning, we really care mostly about Fish Day, but getting rid of the weeds and the safety. Weeds grow back through the summer while we research some other things besides chemistry, in effect. And these tarps sound real interesting to me, real possible.
All right.
So,
Oh, he had his hand up.
either company, let me just finish by
Sure.
saying, I don't know how to choose. I wish I had the other one here.
When do we
I've
have to
talked-
choose?
As soon as possible, only because then we're guaranteed that we'll have all of this done in the late May window. They will really be working. I think I'm gonna recommend Northern Aquatics for two reasons. He's gonna include a water water testing, water analysis, no extra charge, whereas this guy suggested we do it at our own cost. And he's volunteered, he said, I'll come up and talk to your group, I'll come up, I'll make 2 trips up. I'll be up, and the minute the ice is gone, we start looking things over and really laying out exactly the plan you want. I kind of think Northern Aquatic is the one I'd recommend.
That cost of $2,500, we're gonna need to, what, get quotes, or do we have to go out to bids?
Quotes.
Well, you've already got a couple quotes, right?
Right.
So you've done your due diligence.
Okay.
Because I just heard Dave say he approached 5 companies.
And I have the
to respond.
documentation.
So I think you're good on that.
Let's make sure that's in the minutes. Dave has looked at 5 different companies and we got 2 quotes
I
back.
have it.
Good. And that was about the same area, but that I was gonna cover. We gotta do this soon because the Parks and Recs meets in 4 weeks. They gotta pass the motion. I don't think it has to go in front of the Board of Commissioners then, does it?
Yes, because there'll be a
You are the
contract.
recommending body. Always remember that statement.
Okay, so then we have to be on the agenda for for March, so that we can issue a contract,
Correct.
so that by April it's approved, so that May he can work. So
Both of these companies understood that.
this takes 90 days just to go through fast.
But they'll be satisfied with that as long as I can get back to them and say, put us on the calendar. Here's the motion, here's what we did, we're going with you, we agreed to this. Now, base price, both,
Within a few $100.
pardon me?
The
Of each
bids
other.
are within a couple
Yeah,
hundred.
I just want to say the base price, I'm judging we're going to want some additions to it, a bacteria that we can spread ourselves. It's pellets that you just throw out the water, but it's going to add another $500. So I'm going to guess that really we're working with a $3,000 bill.
Not to exceed $3,500.
There you
That's
go.
probably the
So,
motion coming out.
get the name of the company and make the motion so that we've got the name of the company, so that the motion is made, that we make a motion not to exceed to hire such and such.
You know, I'm saying
That motion would be at the commission level.
We have to also make a motion
You're
for the
recommending to
committee.
your Parks Commission.
Yeah, we gotta make, that we recommend to the park. So the motion starts here, I would say, don't it, President?
Yeah, and,
Okay.
give me just a
No,
second
then
here,
the
I'll give you, I will be
Parks
able
and
to.
Rec Commission can just hire, or do we need to go and send it in front of the county board?
Well, yeah, it's a trickle up. You're gonna
Yeah.
end up.
I'm really-
to full
Parks
board
can't
commission.
spend
So
money.
then
I'm really
the
stupid when it
commission
comes
will make
to
recommendations.
technology.
Hire,
This thing's on
that
my
goes
computer,
to
you can read it right there.
Yep. Let's think about this for a motion, that we make a motion to, don't have to write this yet.
No, I have to.
Oh.
It's-
I'm just thinking of the
Go
words.
ahead.
We make a motion to contract with Northern Michigan Aquatics Incorporated.
Could you read the name again?
Northern Michigan Aquatics Incorporated
To treat the ponds.
to treat the ponds for
Kids fishing.
weeds in preparation of Kids Fish Day.
Support?
Just a
No,
second.
no, you're not done.
Not done yet.
And cost not.
For
to
a cost
exceed-
not to exceed $3,500.
Support.
I think that's complete enough for us.
Yes.
This is,
And
And then we
that's
take
a
that,
recommenda-
we-
this is a we are.
It's a recommendation to Parks and Rec Commission.
Yeah,
So the motion is to recommend,
to the Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Popa to recommend to the Parks and Recreation Commission to approve the quote from Northern Michigan Aquatics Incorporated to treat the Veronica Valley ponds for weeds in preparation of Kids Fishing Day at a cost not to exceed $3,500.
excellent.
I like it.
Discussion?
This will come out in the end, and when it's decided what chemicals to use. On my farm, I use a combination of 2,4-D and Roundup and it's a synergistic mix. They both work better when you mix them together.
I thought Roundup has 2,4-D in it.
No,
Oh.
and it's glyphosate,
Oh.
different than 2,4-D, but I mix them together, and it is systemic entirely. That's how it works. It's a systemic chemical. And then I do that instead of a knockdown, just a contact, because it lasts a little bit longer into the season. A contact herbicide will basically burn down what's there, and that sets everything back. But immediately, the plants will continue to come. So with this timing involved, if we're thinking, okay, if we're going to get in here at this time, and then we need it to be clean and clear for the planting of the fish and Kids Fish Day, that's that factor. We also have carryover in the pond, so we have fish in the pond we don't want to affect either, so that's another factor.
All of that's been made clear to them.
So then we've got some decisions to make, and I think it'll all come out in the end because the timing will probably dictate the chemistry.
Yes, it will. Just-
Then
So
you gotta
can-
let,
Can we vote on this motion?
oh.
Any other discussion?
Because that was discussion.
Oh, you
All in
got-
favor of aye?
Aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Now, you gotta get a hold of our chair, Noonan, and get on the agenda for Parks and Rec.
That's correct.
Now, you don't take care of the Parks and Rec minutes, do you?
Yes, and this is this.
meetings?
And there's going to be discussion at the full Parks and Rec Commission about the stress and strain of all of these minutes on her job, in terms of some choices we can make. That's the full commission, but I just know it's coming up.
So anyway, it's on the agenda.
I will, thank you.
And Laura will make sure it's there too.
We can always add.
I thought you had an assistant.
You're in your own little bubble over there.
That's a nice statement.
Well, I think then, yeah, John, I'm aware of the timing. I need to firm up with this Mr. Ray Gotham from Northern Michigan Aquatics that we want to be on his schedule.
List, yeah.
As of now. Both of them said they need the contract signed by April 1st, so that is a time frame we can get done relative to running it through the whole commission. So I think we're good to go on that.
I was gonna,
Any other thoughts? I was glad to hear that, well, Heather is the one who gave us, the first time, gave me the name Northern Michigan Aquatics, so I'm not surprised that they're one of the ones she
Good.
gave us. She's in favor of them, so we'll do it. I'll contact both of them and say yes to one and no to the other.
We probably should wait till after our Parks and Rec meeting.
Got it.
Kids Fish Day, the plantings are here, and of course, that's when the main activity is there. There is planting here also.
I wanted to ask that, because I've been on the site about 5 times this month, just to get an understanding.
There's a lot of fish in here.
So when I was hiking around here, I did see a sign that I was never aware of. I take my grandkids over in these areas like that.
Well, we have more ponds that we need to manage, so that's gonna come up.
Uh-huh.
My whole focus has been
The
those
fish
two
day.
and Kids Fish Day.
Yeah.
And then, but pond management, only in the past year has become clear to me, oh, that's something we gotta do all the time.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. I
Yep.
wanted to ask that question, so I saw the sign, but I hadn't, I had been aware when it was a golf course, but I've only been aware of this area in my career.
Okay.
So I think we're done with that, and that's the biggest part. I don't know how much you need to know right now. I'm gonna run through some things relative to the grant application. The weighting of the various categories that we have to fill out Laurel actually does the manual filling out, putting it in, the blanks in the application form. The weighting of each of those, how much does this one go towards a yes or no, and how much does this one go? Well, remember I've been using the word collaboration. It was such a huge thing. By the way, we only got this new weighting scale about the 10th of January, which is crazy to me, because now it's all, you don't even see the word collaboration. It's all about long-term maintenance commitments, which is kind of the same thing. But we're working on that. We're hoping we can pull that off. I'm not sure. We're going to want to have kind of a rewriting, and I have what we sent in last year of the budget statement. As I reread it, it looks pretty good, really. But I'll be more clear with Klaus about how do we break out some more budget. You get the most points if you have a outside party, but mostly what's the word? Endowment. Some sort of fixed financial structure is going to commit to maintenance in our park for a period of time. That's where the biggest number of points are, but you still get points if we have a solid budget that comes from county funds.
Yeah.
From county funds. It's just not the biggest bite that's in that category. But we're working on all of that. We are getting $100 a year for 5 years from the Leelanau Lake Association. That paperwork's all done. Klaus has already got that scanned in. And I expect on the 24th of this month, Bingham will agree. So we've got some good collaboration on weed management specifically. And that's all going to help, etc. We really, none of this new weighting scale favors Northern Michigan again. There's a whole category we can't even go for the points, and there's like 50 points in there. We can't even apply for them because you have to be in an urban area.
You kidding me?
No. Now, the two stated main focuses of the deciding committee are trails. Trails is for somebody else or for the future or something. It's not going to work. There's no room for what we're doing, what we've done, with the work we've done, to suddenly add some sort of trail connection, because they're fairly specific about what they mean. Or the other category is regional significance. And it didn't even exist before, but there are 20 points. No, we need 30 points. I mean, that's our goal, minimum, over what we got last time. I think it's 20 points of regional significance. Well, regional, I assume, means more than one county. I mean, we got things that we can say that make Veronica really significant for the whole damn county, and it's our family fishing that's unique, you know, and all the other features. But I don't know. I'm struggling with.
It's the closeness to Sleeping Bear.
Well, he's trying to get out of the county.
I'm trying to.
Oh, the whole region?
Well, I'm guessing that what they mean. I've been talking with the Conservancy about this because of Meaver Creek right next to us. You know, is there some statement, just even if it's a letter of support from them, that says our development is good because it helps them with their decision not to touch Meaver Creek. That whole preserve area, just leave it as is. It'd be unfortunate to touch it. I mean, it'd be a mess to touch it anyway. But that's not regional. That's this very important piece of habitat
Well,
for us.
Tart Trails covers a few counties, and that's nearby, and it brings hikers and bikers and dog walkers and stuff. And if there's a park that is very similar next to Tart,
I was trying to get a connection between Veronica and the bike trail.
right, I know.
And it would be a county road project.
Sure, but in reality,
Yeah.
Is there room to have that done even by the middle of September?
No.
I mean, paperwork, because that's the
Just-
deadline.
That's just a basic, you know, one
Yeah.
thing that has happened that I've seen, I saw a bus there and it said Traverse City on the side of it. And there was a whole
Regional
bunch,
schools
a whole
use it.
bunch of kids. A whole bunch of
Regional
kids.
schools.
Yeah, I
A
see
whole bunch of
Traverse
kids were
schools
fishing.
all the time.
You know, and that was during the week, during school. So,
Regional
There's-
schools use
That's as
it.
good as any
But
possible threat.
Steve, back to these roads and stuff, if we've got a trail that goes there and the bikers only have to bike 2 miles to it, they can use county roads, it doesn't need a separate dedicated trail.
I'm not saying that it
So
would be.
these bikers, they pedal all over our highways anyway, and
Well-
this TART is a regional thing, and if I was pedaling down a TART trail and I knew there was places like you're in the UP and I can go over here and have a picnic there. And it only takes you 3 minutes to get there. It's a
Well,
mile
I
and-
know from all that I've heard about what they mean by trails, because that's all it says for the 2 categories. It's not the weighing scale. It says trails and regional significance. Well, what they mean by trails is the project itself would provide a connector to expand a trail system.
Good, put that in there, just
Like the
so.
Iron Bell Trail kind of thing.
Yeah, whatever,
Small
like,
scale.
but if the project was to build a trail from the TART trail to the park,
Oh.
that'd be more likely than the park being near some.
I would still put in a statement that we're near the 50-mile long TART trail thing, and we're only off of it a little bit, so
I hear
it's
your point,
significant,
because
significant.
it's gonna come down to a narrative statement. I mean, it's not like we're gonna have a collaborative agreement with somebody that we're doing a trail connector, that's not gonna be part
It
of it.
doesn't have to say trail connector, but
No,
we're
well-
very close to all that hiking and biking and
You know,
walking. and-
it is gonna come down to a narrative statement, and we'll do the best we can. But I like this focus on regional school use.
There might be another thread that might be quasi-connected to that. There may be groups that use the TART Trail to get to Veronica Valley. And maybe the trail, what's her name, Julie?
To the car.
Maybe she knows of, say, a group or a school group that specifically ends up at Veronica to eat sandwiches and fish and then get back using that connection.
Okay, I'll see.
What if we get a letter from Julie and say, we've got a real nice 40-acre hiking and walking thing that's only a couple miles off your trail. Can you give us a letter of support, and possibly they could include our name? Oh, by the way, if you're in such and such, here's a good,
They may already have knowledge of
right, but if we
groups
can even,
that are doing it.
right, and
that
if we
would
can
be
find
part of-
that,
That would be part of
and
the
we can
support
call
statement.
Julie and say, hey, do you guys have a lot of this stuff in your scoop list?
Might be.
I'll pursue that.
Or we could put a sign on the trail that says Veronica Valley Park.
Yep.
Couple of amenities, 3 miles this way.
Yeah, perfect.
Another
Turn
one.
allows if that's close.
See, that TART trail, like by Traverse, is a certain significant, but they also hook into Grand Traverse County's walking and hiking trail around that whole ex-Boardman Pond thing, and they use that extensively.
And when that's complete, the whole loop around the lake.
But I don't know if
think
they
they're-
bike on
I
that,
think
too.
they're gonna complete it this year, aren't
Are
they?
they?
Yeah, they're moving ahead, I mean, they got.
Is that biking or hiking?
Both.
Is it?
It's a wide paved, it's just like the TART trail. I've got friends that live in town that use the one side of it a lot, and I've hiked it all once. Okay,
Hey, Dave, is it making any difference that this, I don't know any other children fishing ponds in Traverse City.
no, it's really a unique offering.
Well, does it make any
It's-
difference to say,
Well, when it-
within
That's
a
regional.
30, 20-mile radius or 30-mile radius?
Okay.
This is the only I fish, and my kids are fish, and now I'm taking grandkids fishing. So, and I used to live in Traverse City, but I don't remember any just kids only fishing.
You got a point there.
Good
One of the
point.
only regional areas in our northwest region that has good dedicated kids fishing there.
Now, I know North Burton has a little pond there, so that might be a factor, but they have a fish day,
They fixed Proof-Mont Pond
yeah.
in Leelanau.
They did at one time.
It's fixed.
Is it?
They put a new dam and a new outfall.
But they don't plan it for kids, do they?
That's gonna be for kids fishing there. It's not dedicated kids fishing or a kids fishing day. But I used to fish there as a kid. I did that, Melanges, those are my two ponds. And the narrows of Lake Leelanau.
I knew some secret ones over by Solon that produced some pretty good trout.
Yeah, I did. But, so now we've got Proof-Mont back.
Well,
And
anyway.
we have Veronica, so I mean,
Well,
it's rare.
This
I
is
mean,
a
it
good
is
one.
rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
We're free to express the uniqueness of it as freely as we can for this grant app. I like the idea of expressing it in terms of its uniqueness within a certain mile
Yeah,
radius.
one of the
Yeah.
only regional
Yeah.
supported by communities and whatever, blah, blah,
Well, it's
blah.
dedicated to, we've dedicated as much as we can possibly dedicate it. And there is some movement on state regulations, although we haven't heard much from Heather about that. Having a designation from state fishing regulations that we could have Veronica ponds be in. That, I don't, you might not even know that. It's, her,
So some sort of recognition from the state.
it would be in the state fishing laws.
That it's kids
When you get a
only.
fish license, and there would be a designated, category called kids fishing ponds.
Ah.
You cannot, unless you are under the age of fishing these ponds, period.
That's on a fishing license?
It's close, relatively close, it's not there yet, but that's
Well, it could be, huh?
What they're
possibly
thinking.
going to be the guy that, I don't know, maybe he was had Heather's position previously, and then he moved up to state level, and now he's in Wisconsin or something. What was that guy's name? Shoot.
There's a Tom Rozich, but he retired.
No, this guy is younger,
Todd.
but
We
he
see a lot
was a
like
power,
that.
a force. And, he
Well-
was excited to have that regulation move along, and it hasn't.
Again, it's not there yet, so that's
Yeah, it's not
something for the
something.
future.
You got about
But
3 good
you've helped
buttons
me
there.
Give me some good points, because, again, this whole weighting scale doesn't help us. We've gone through and scored all that we've got as best we can. We're getting there. We will get extra points by getting up to the 30%, 95,000 being 30% match. 30% of the project as our match. It has required, and you'll get more of this with the full commission, but where we really we need to pull 15,000 out of this old, the previous request, the total request. We got to peel back 15,000. So it looks like the best place is with what we spend on the fishing decks. We've cut that by 5. It's down to a $40,000 line item here. And native landscape and pond plantings, we trimmed 5,000, and I think we can trim a little more out of that. And we're gonna get the 15. So we can tweak this without too much trouble and without any major change. Other than that, Klaus and I earlier this week went over all the rating scale, looked at all of our pieces, do the best we can. That's it. Do you have any questions about it?
No, I think you're doing great.
But does it help to get the square footage or their acreage of these two ponds relative to the fact of comparison to anything else? For kids?
Well, the kids' fishing pond is 1.4. I've used
Okay.
it so much, I know that.
But you don't include this one?
I haven't included the long ponds.
This is the one they plant, and this is the one
Okay.
they put everything in, and this is where it's set up for
And that's
kids
where
to
the
fish.
project is.
No.
But they
Right.
plant
They
here.
plant Long Pond.
They plant these too.
But not for kids fishing, maybe, do they?
It's all planted at once.
Oh,
Well, the sign
excuse me.
says, the sign has the same sign there as it did here, kids only.
Mhm.
And that's not enforceable.
Right.
Oh,
There are guys that cheat.
It's not a law.
Well, the law right now came from, I mean, it applies to the park is, Resources Trust Fund bought the park, and it has to be open to fishing and hunting under state regulation.
State regs.
And so we can't really say kids only until
Oh.
this other program comes up.
We can put
Okay.
the sign there. But-
okay, I
but
saw, I said, no, I never realized that this was a kid's fishing pond.
Well,
Yeah. And that's just the way it's been, you know, it's kind of grandfathered in that that's what we're doing, but technically,
Okay.
I know that's not
Okay,
enforceable.
didn't-
legally
I didn't know.
enforceable.
okay, I think, let's see, is there
You
anything
beat that
else?
one up.
We have succeeded in getting these we will succeed in getting ones done, on paper. Working agreements with the two outside parties, Bingham Township and the Lake Association. That's gonna help. It's gonna help in this category of local support, but it's still gonna read well. It's gonna be, there's always been a lot of good stuff going on at the park that we haven't had the documentation to show. We have more of that, and we're gonna do a better job of saying it in the narrative, how much is going on there. Now, one last thing, I will be reviewing on paper and asking for a fresh letter of support from the disabled group from Disability Network, because that's pretty featured in some of this weighting scale in one area, and get a fresh letter of support from them relative to actually sitting down and reviewing it all with me. And the two critical things for them, well, three: a loop trail, shade structure for picnicking, and shade structure over the porta potties. And that's part of our planning. So that's where we're at with that application. We've got next week executive session, and the full commission has to choose the date, approve the date, set for the public hearing. That will be in March, in front of their March
County
meeting
board?
as
County
county
board.
board meeting as it
County
was-
board next week, public hearing.
is in the month of March.
I see.
But the next action they have to take is to approve the date for the public hearing.
I see.
What about the dual lots thing? The invasive weeds? Does that count towards any of that, or?
No, because here's another thing you live under. Yeah, we got $12,000 and we needed it this year for terrestrial invasives to get rid of the automata. We're gonna get overrun. It's all good, but you can't count a grant like that as part of your match in a year before you've been awarded. You can only do it after you've been awarded the grant.
Kind of makes
Now,
sense.
we're gonna have some more trees planted through some program that Kama's pulling together. Well, she's expressing our support. I said, yeah, we all support it. 40 trees, but, and all of that would be good, but it's happening this year. On the other hand, that's an ongoing grant every year. We may get it again next year, usually. But
We should add that to the agenda for the full commission,
about the,
Canvas program.
okay, I will. I'll get that done.
Yeah, because Miles needs some trees.
Final thing.
Final.
Fishing committee wants to put a bench up with a commemorative plaque for Pete Taylor. I assume that's gonna be acceptable, so the thing is, we gotta choose which bench we want for the park, which style. This one is Old Settlers, this one is Miles. What do we want?
I'd leave it up to Scott. What does he like to see there?
We don't have a bench, do we?
No, there's
That's why I said we gotta,
style there. I like the ones at Miles. They match the picnic tables. They're maintenance free. You can't steal them. They're cemented in the ground. So
You
they're not.
mentioned, I sent an email out to all Parks Commission members regarding donation policy. So at this point, I would say, if you decide on something, you should make a recommendation to the Parks Commission, who will then recommend to the full board approval of this. Because the Building and Grounds Committee of the board met and discussed an email from our council on not having a true donation policy to keep your options open and to approve things on an as-needed basis.
That was council's rec?
Yes.
Everybody got that?
I can't quite hear everything. Do we need a form then to take?
Council said, do it as needed instead of having a formal policy,
Correct. One at a time?
as it comes up. And
But you're suggesting that we make this choice of a bench style for the park very formal.
recommended to.
Recommend it to your commission, and then the commission will recommend it to the board for
County
approval.
board.
Did you say something about a form?
Wow.
I can't, I didn't quite hear you.
What do you think of what Scott said? This is Miles Kimmerly here.
I move that we recommend the bench that we use at Miles Kimberly.
We should state
And
what
make
it
a
is.
recommendation to the Parks and Rec Commission to use that bench for this instance of a bench for Pete Taylor.
Oh. So it's not that this is the bench to be used for all benches at Veronica?
It will be, but
Laurel recommended we do these one at a
one at
time.
a time. This will be the bench, and I think,
You wanna pick a style, you don't wanna have 17 different kinds of benches in the park, I think. It just,
right,
So are they donating money for this?
Mm-hmm, there will be,
So you have to give them a price.
yes.
All right, is it gonna be $6.25, $8.25, or $15.25?
Are you planning on meeting next month?
Yes.
This might be better to defer until next month when you have firm figures and,
It's model 825G-P, an 8-foot.
Well, yeah, we get it. I only wanted to.
You want the 6-foot?
There's a style, and these other decisions I understand have to come along. Got it.
It's model 625G-P, 6-foot bench from Summit Supply.
Well,
they all sell.
but as long as we're in agreement that well, we do have to do this. Did we have a motion?
I put a motion out there that might have been premature.
here's my thought. You're looking at two potential motions. You're gonna ask for a motion to approve funds from the organization donating towards.
I don't know how the funds are coming, but I think the Lake Association agreed to Lonnie to pay for this. So it's not coming out of the Parks funds, but the motion has to go through Parks.
Right. But
That-
do you understand what I'm trying to say, though?
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Funds will come from elsewhere.
The two motions are kind of intertwined because you can't have one without the other. And you don't have a firm figure, and you don't have a firm commitment from the community, that organization to do so. And you're probably going to be meeting again next month, right?
This committee, probably.
Okay, I got an idea then, Laurel. What if Lonnie gets a letter stating, we hereby will contribute to pay for this, and we would like model such and such and such and such, and take that in front of the Parks and Rec, or here?
Something at least.
So we'd have
along
something that
line.
says, this is the model number, and this is
So
that?
in our next month's meeting at Veronica Valley, we'll be making the motion. So I can withdraw my motion, and we'll do the motion at our next meeting. That'll be the one right there.
And we'll get Lonnie,
And then I will also confer with Chet, because of this new sort of oversight procedure. whether it has to go to buildings and grounds, which is part of the board of commissioners.
To get a donation.
I know this seems like a lot of extra work, but this is brand new to me too.
Yes,
I know.
it does.
So until
A lot
I'm
of
firm
extra.
with, I don't want to tell you to go ahead and do this if it's not, if there isn't a
Okay.
point to it.
So-
But it seems like it makes sense. You should get that firm commitment from the Lake Association
Yep.
and then have something drawn out on actual costs.
Yep. We'll do that.
Okay.
John, it could be in that same letter though. couldn't it?
Yeah, it could.
Is that a new catalog or is that last year's?
No, I think it's an old one, but.
Why don't you make sure that you have a number,
Yeah.
Model
It'll be
number.
all, the numbers are always.
And I can
model number
work-
and cost?
I can work with Scott on drafting something more formal with finite figures, okay?
Yeah, yeah, I'll get a letter from Lonnie stating that
Yes.
this is the one that they'll agree to, and that they'll agree to furnish the money and all that.
Right.
We'll bring that in front of
This committee?
this committee, who then takes it to another committee, who then takes it to
The formal board.
maybe buildings and grounds, and then maybe, anyway, we'll start.
Yeah, I'll talk with Chet on the process, and then I'll make sure that the entire commission is aware at its regular session.
Good, good suggestion.
Okay.
Boy, glad we have her on this committee. We'll do it that way.
Okay. And
But at
actually,
least
this
it was
is-
on the agenda and that we agreed
Well,
to
it got as
proceed.
far as, what I wanted was to
Yeah.
keep it going because
Yes.
the fish committee wants this done by this year's fishing day.
All right, Lonnie will get
They
Lonnie.
want Pete to be able to sit on Pete's bench, and that's,
Lonnie wanted it like installed the night before fish day.
Oh,
Pete walks out.
it might happen.
Oh, it's totally possible.
The concrete got set up.
Need to do.
Looks like it comes with concrete posts.
Oh, it does.
can I give him any sense of cost so that he may have his group say, not their
Give him
contribution?
I'll make a
is
copy of
to-
that page and I'll see Lonnie today or tomorrow,
Take
whatever.
a picture.
I'll get it to him.
Tell him it's under 300.
Okay.
You know, now
Well,
that you guys are
It goes
talking
in the
about
weekend. It's gonna be
donations,
real
it's
small.
making me think that perhaps you might want to have a conversation too about having a donations line item in your budget to accept donations from outside organizations, so that money is separate. So that's something to discuss at the regular session, and probably with the accounting department.
Right, we can do that.
Yeah, yeah.
And what I
Let's
can
bring
compare
that
this
up.
to is the sheriff recently got the same sort of thing approved so that he can start actively campaigning towards a vote. So this is similar, it's not identical, but it is similar. You might want to have.
Laurel, you brought up something interesting. Because of the money and expenditures and approval and all that. What if Lonnie just went and bought this thing?
I would not advise that.
Huh?
I would not advise that.
And then Lonnie, got it and ordered it, and the Lake Association wrote a check out to this company
Not advisable.
and got this bench and says, here, can we install this? And then this board says, yeah, we've got this purchased bench, and,
That's taking a step away from us that we need.
I would I would caution you on that and suggest having a conversation with Chet at the bare minimum.
We will end up having people walking in for a meeting with
with a bunch in
donations.
hand, and
I'll tell you that brings forth that unfavorable term, precedent. You do not want to set a precedent like that. Because
It's
then
this
anyone
fun
can
thing
say,
now
well,
bothers me
you
that-
accepted this, and what if, I don't even want to go down that road. Just think about it. This would be a good conversation.
it's just
with
an
Chet.
idea that here's a bench that's approved by this group, and we don't have to worry about transferring money.
We can't take the steps away. I think having each request come through a group makes it a chance for the group to discuss it. And now we've got a little different direction from corporate counsel that is recommending that we take them one at a time.
True.
And that way it comes to this group, you want to do a donation, well, at whatever park it is, and at
Then
this
what
point in
does
time,
Laurel say about-
we do benches.
And Laurel's suggestion is that if we and I watched the sheriff ask for the same, get this set up in the same way, so I see the value of it. I will work towards, in the next couple of full county commission meetings, get them to approve a line item for donations in our budget. It's the only way we can accept the donation and set it aside and we can then decide each acceptance on a case-by-case basis.
So the county writes a check out this and the donation's gotta come back into the coffers to cover it?
Well, if we can get this line item, we can accept the donation at any time relative to when the purchase is actually made. That's why it'll make it easier if we have this identified
Well,
place
we-
to put, yeah, I know.
We'll
It would not
see.
even-
Next year.
We'll see if it is needed, because what was
Oh.
set up for the sheriff's department was for a fundraising program for a vote. We'll see if it's needed. It might be
Okay.
needed with our new structure. It might, if it's not needed, it's not needed.
Well,
But I'm
if you
better-
get a donation and it's earmarked for something, it has to be spent on that. I got that from the treasurer's
All right.
department,
Well, I'll investigate what's needed
See
from
what-
the accounting
Right,
standpoint.
see
and
what's
we'll see.
needed.
But I got what I
So,
needed right now.
donation.
Lonnie knows we're gonna.
I'm gonna
do it
see Lonnie.
And show him.
I'll take care of that.
Yeah, and show him the picture of it.
What else do I gotta do? Nothing.
I think
We've exhausted our action item list.
any business from, well,
Board member comments?
yeah, okay, here's my other thing. This is just comment. This is just FYI. But after hearing what we have to do with the bench, I can't imagine. We need we need an established volunteer group, I'll call it a Friends of Veronica Valley, because there's friends of all kinds of parks, Friends of Sleeping Bear, Friends of whatever. So we need that kind of support. It's proven really valuable up the Boardman River and all they've done there. One of the needs, one of the things that's come along, two gentlemen have approached me about grooming cross-country trails. They would like to volunteer to do grooming, because one of the problems with our grooming, they love it when it's really good, but you can't be over there often enough.
Talking about winter grooming?
Winter
Well,
cross-country.
don't
ski.
base anything on this year, for one.
Well, no.
Yeah, that's kind of tough, Scott, it just wasn't,
Oh, it's been
still
tough.
there.
Yeah, there wasn't good snow and there wasn't a good grooming personnel.
Well, I see.
I
It's
missed a
still,
lot
it's
Yeah.
still,
this year.
Yeah.
it's still skied a lot for Scott.
Well,
I've been there 5 times and it's, people, but I understand, Jack. Every time I was there were either cars when I came or cars when I left.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed with, I was unaware, the people that were, and there was husband and wife with their 2 little kids doing stuff, and there were people, of course, walking their dogs, but there were, 2 different, and I watched tracks, I know tracks, cross-country skis and snowshoes. I was really impressed with
Yeah.
them.
now,
The amount of usage.
all I want to say at this point is, yeah, that usage has come to me as saying, hey, can we volunteer to groom more often so the grooming's always really good? Well, I see in that as the possibility of developing this, around that germ, that seminal idea, to develop this group of volunteers. However, I've already talked with Laurel, and Laurel's already said, this is one to sit down with Chet about. How do we handle volunteer labor, especially if it would be people who might be trained to drive a piece of county gear? There's a whole set of issues in there that are going to be far more complicated than this donation of a bench.
Well, we went around and around that one a fair amount at Parks and Rec Commission.
Well, I
There
know-
are all kinds of caveats for the person that would actually be doing the
Oh,
work.
we've talked
And
about
it,
snipping bushes,
it would-
clearing out deer runways.
That's why I gotta get a handle on
It would be
what can work.
problematic to have a person running equipment. Volunteerism and Friends of the Park can do a lot of things
Boy,
above
we've
and
had-
beyond driving equipment.
With this though, Molly really wants to learn how to grow. Have a skier. She's a county employee.
Molly from planning?
Yeah. So, you know, that way she could maybe step up.
Learn how to drive a Kubota?
It's really not that hard. It's not hard at all.
Well, I see in the use of our cross-country skiing and the feedback I'm getting about how it could be better, a possibility of putting some volunteerism into it.
We
But
need a roller too, but that's gotta happen.
I saw a picture of one the other day.
We could borrow,
Media.
Tart Trail has one we could borrow just for one day type of thing.
They're cheap, you can buy them for under.
So,
$100.
is there action to be taken
No,
on this
no,
subject?
We're down into board
This is
finance.
just discussion.
this is just discussion.
We're
and
past
my-
action
my
items.
say-
Oh, this wasn't an action item?
No, this was
Board member comment?
board member comment about, I already know this whole volunteer thing, I need to get a better handle on, talking with Chet, and after what we just learned about taking a donation for a God bless his bench. I'm not
Might be
looking forward to
after
it.
that.
Anything else?
I've been talking with Barb Lund, and she's involved with the group that is, that's a different part, never mind.
Okay.
Thinking, where they,
It was in my packet.
So I will be adding those things to our full commission meeting, Parks and Rec commission meeting, and make it
And I was approved for a roller last year, but it didn't get done, so it's gonna happen this year.
I don't have any comments.
move to adjourn,
Work to adjourn.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
We'll be out of here.
Thanks, Laurel.
Thanks, Ron.
Took an hour and a half of Laurel's time. I feel terrible.
She didn't have nothing else to do.
Just the board packet.
And she told me I was in my own bubble.